Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Dear friends, in this ever-changing life full of challenges, we often ask ourselves, why are there people around us who cause us pain, anxiety, and disturb our peace? Have you ever felt uneasy when meeting someone, but couldn't quite explain why? Or have you ever faced someone who hurt you, whether unintentionally or intentionally, and found yourself unsure of how to protect your heart? Today, I invite you to reflect on the signs of those who might harm us and how we can recognize them before our hearts suffer further. Together, we will delve deep into our minds, observe these signs, and learn how to maintain our peace in the presence of those with ill intentions. Life is not just a solitary journey, but an opportunity for us to better understand ourselves, to safeguard the serenity in every breath and every step. Have you ever wondered, how do I distinguish between good people and those who are slowly draining my spiritual strength? Or, how do we remain compassionate without becoming victims of cruelty? These questions, which may have arisen in your heart, are exactly what we will explore today, dear friends. Can we live in this world without letting such dark souls affect our inner peace? And how can we recognize them, distance ourselves, while still keeping a calm heart and a compassionate mind? Sign 1. Lack of empathy for others' pain. In life, compassion and the ability to empathize are key elements that help people live happily and harmoniously with one another. However, there are those whose hearts seem to lack any empathy. This is one of the clearest signs of a toxic person. They feel joy in the pain and failures of others. Not only do they show indifference to others' suffering, but they may even laugh or mock others' difficulties, finding pleasure in it. Imagine a situation at work. You've just gone through a difficult incident, perhaps a failure in a project or a public criticism. Instead of receiving comfort or support from a colleague, you notice one of them smirking or acting amused by your situation. They might not directly harm you, but their attitude makes you feel alone and helpless. This behavior not only shows a lack of empathy, but also reveals a deep self-centeredness where they care only about themselves. Another example could come from friendships or family relationships. You have a close friend, and one day you share with them that you've recently lost your job. Instead of offering sympathy and support, this friend laughs and makes insensitive comments, such as, "I told you that job wasn't right for you." This statement is not only unkind, but it makes you feel disrespected and insulted during a vulnerable moment. People who are indifferent to others' pain often feel joy in others' failures because it gives them a sense of power and superiority. It may be a sign of a moral deficiency, where they can't or won't empathize, instead using others' suffering to their own advantage. Such people may also spread rumors or provoke conflicts just to enjoy the emotional damage they cause. If you frequently encounter people like this in your life, it's important to recognize them and distance yourself. Their presence can not only hurt you mentally but also diminish your optimism and faith in others. In today's world, we often speak of empathy and kindness, but some people either cannot or do not want to practice these values. Recognizing these signs early and keeping your distance is crucial for protecting your peace and happiness. Finally, remember that your pain is not someone else's entertainment. A true friend will always listen and empathize with what you're going through, not mock or take pleasure in your struggles. Don't let these indifferent individuals diminish your sense of self-worth. Sign 2. The desire to control other people's lives. In any relationship, respecting each other's freedom and opinions is crucial. However, some people have an overwhelming need to control every aspect of others' lives. This is another clear sign of a toxic person, and if you don't recognize it early, their control can gradually erode your personal freedom and self-worth. Imagine you have a friend who was initially very friendly and caring. Over time, however, you notice they start making decisions for you, from where you go, what you eat, to what you do on the weekends. They even begin to interfere in important decisions in your life, like your career choices or who you should associate with. These individuals disregard your opinions, and whenever you try to express your views, they quickly dismiss or undermine them, making you feel as though your input holds no value. Another common scenario is in romantic relationships, where one partner tries to control everything, from what you wear to where you go and even who you can meet. At first, they may justify this behavior as concern for you, but in reality, it's their way of exercising control and gaining dominance in the relationship. These controlling behaviors may start with small things, like constantly wanting to know where you are, but can escalate into them checking your phone or social media accounts without your consent. This need for control not only strips away your personal freedom, but can also lead to significant psychological harm, like eroding your confidence and making you feel trapped in the relationship. Control can also manifest in the workplace. You might have encountered a boss who insists on having their way in every task, refusing to listen to suggestions or contributions from others. This person may constantly micromanage you, scrutinizing even the smallest details, not because they want to help, but because they cannot stand the idea of not having complete control. The key to dealing with people who display controlling behaviors is recognizing the problem early and setting clear boundaries. If you don't, their control will gradually chip away at your spirit, leaving you without the ability to make your own decisions and live freely. To protect yourself, learn to assert your personal boundaries, and don't be afraid to speak up when you feel your freedom is being compromised. Sign 3. A strange feeling when you're around them. One of the simplest ways to identify a toxic person is by paying attention to how you feel when you're around them. Our bodies and minds are often highly attuned to the energy and behavior of others. If you constantly feel anxious, uneasy, or uncomfortable around someone, even if they haven't done anything overtly wrong, it could be a sign that this person is negatively impacting your psychological well-being. Imagine you're at a family gathering, where everyone is happily chatting and having fun. However, when a certain family member walks into the room, the atmosphere seems to shift entirely. Even though this person hasn't said or done anything specific, their mere presence makes you feel anxious, tired, or tense. This may be due to the negative energy they bring or unresolved feelings from past interactions. Another example might be in a work environment. You have a coworker who, every time they approach, brings with them a sense of pressure or discomfort. You can't quite explain why you feel this way, but your body and mind are sending signals that something isn't right. This could indicate that the person's passive-aggressive behavior or negative aura is affecting you, even if you haven't consciously recognized it. These strange feelings often come from our survival instincts, which help us detect and avoid potentially harmful situations or people. Sometimes, the signs are subtle, but if you repeatedly feel uneasy, anxious, or drained when around someone, don't ignore those feelings. Your mind may be picking up on things your rational thoughts haven't yet processed. Paying attention to and respecting these instincts can help you avoid toxic individuals and protect your mental and emotional health. If you consistently feel strange around someone, it's essential to reevaluate the relationship. Is this person frequently causing stress or conflict in your life? Do they regularly ignore your personal boundaries? If the answer is yes, it may be time to distance yourself from them to protect your well-being. Sign 4. Refusal to take responsibility for their actions. Another key sign of a toxic person is their refusal to take responsibility for their actions, especially when things go wrong. Instead of admitting their mistakes and learning from them, they consistently blame others or external circumstances. This not only creates tension in relationships, but also fosters a toxic environment where those around them feel unjustly blamed and hurt. Imagine you're working on a group project, and one team member makes a major mistake. When the error is discovered, rather than owning up to it and helping to fix the problem, this person immediately shifts the blame onto other team members or external factors, such as faulty equipment or a tight deadline. This behavior not only demotivates the rest of the team, but also creates a sense of unfairness and resentment. People who refuse to take responsibility often lack the ability to self-reflect and learn from their mistakes, making it difficult to maintain a positive working relationship with them. In friendships or family dynamics, you may also encounter individuals who constantly shift the blame when things go wrong. For example, a friend who is habitually late to meetups might never admit that they didn't manage their time well. Instead, they blame traffic, weather, or even you for choosing an inconvenient location. They consistently avoid accountability, making you feel as if the problem is never theirs, even when all evidence points to their wrongdoing. What's dangerous about this behavior is that it can slowly undermine your self-esteem. You start questioning whether you really did something wrong, and you may find yourself caught in a cycle of self-doubt and guilt. People who refuse to take responsibility for their actions are often skilled manipulators, making you feel as though you are the one at fault. Even when they are clearly in the wrong, the best way to handle such people is to stand your ground and not let them manipulate your emotions. Clearly point out their mistake and ask them to take accountability for their actions. If they continue to deflect blame and refuse to admit their fault, it may be time to reconsider the relationship and decide whether it's worth continuing. Sign 5. Lack of remorse. Remorse is a sign of humanity, empathy, and the ability to recognize the consequences of one's actions on others. However, one of the most prominent characteristics of bad people is that they never feel remorse for what they've done, whether it's hurting, damaging, or manipulating others. These individuals often don't feel any sadness or guilt. Instead, they justify their behavior or even blame others for it. For example, in a romantic relationship, you might encounter a partner who repeatedly hurts you with their words or actions. When you openly share your feelings and expect a sincere apology, this person remains indifferent, or worse, blames you for being overly sensitive or exaggerating the issue. They might say things like, "I was just joking, why are you so serious?" Or "You're blowing this out of proportion." This behavior not only shows a lack of empathy, but is also a psychological tactic to reverse the situation, making you feel like the one at fault. Their lack of remorse makes you feel powerless, and over time, it can erode your self-esteem and confidence. Another example could occur at the workplace. You have a colleague who constantly violates rules or makes mistakes, but never admits to them. When their errors are discovered, instead of apologizing or taking responsibility, they quickly point the finger at others or external circumstances. This creates a toxic work environment where dishonesty and lack of personal accountability wear down those around them. People who lack remorse also show little concern for the consequences of their actions on others. For instance, in a friendship, a person might constantly make negative remarks about you in front of others, causing emotional harm. When you try to discuss the issue and expect them to acknowledge their fault, they not only refuse to apologize, but even go further, making you feel like you're overreacting. These individuals not only lack remorse, but they also have the ability to make you feel as though you're the one at fault, even when it's clear that they are the ones causing the problem. This is a form of psychological manipulation, and if not recognized early, it can lead to deep mental and emotional damage. It's crucial to recognize these signs and establish clear boundaries to protect yourself from such manipulation and harm from people who show no remorse. Sign 6. Open cruelty. Open cruelty is one of the most obvious and recognizable signs when we encounter bad people in our lives. They don't hesitate to show their malice and harshness, both through words and actions, often doing so publicly without any sense of shame. Cruel individuals don't feel the need to hide their wickedness, as they see it as a means to achieve personal gain or reinforce their power and influence over others. A prime example of open cruelty can be found in the workplace, where a colleague or supervisor publicly humiliates others in meetings or in front of co-workers. They may harshly criticize, use insulting language, and demean people, not to offer constructive feedback, but purely to diminish others' credibility. Such individuals often leverage their power or position to control and intimidate others, creating an environment filled with tension and anxiety. Another real-life example could come from a family relationship. In some families, a bad person might openly use harsh words or even resort to violence toward other family members. They may criticize someone's appearance, abilities, or even humiliate them in front of friends and family. These people typically lack any respect for others' feelings and only seek to assert their dominance. This not only causes immediate emotional damage, but can have long-lasting psychological effects on the victims. Open cruelty also manifests in friendships. A friend might act rudely and cruelly, using hurtful words and not caring about how you feel. They may mock your insecurities or laugh at you when you share personal difficulties, showing no concern for the pain they cause. This behavior clearly demonstrates a complete lack of respect and empathy for others' emotions. These acts of cruelty, regardless of where they occur, leave serious consequences for the mental health of the victim. They weaken the person's self-worth, make them feel insignificant, and in some cases, these harsh words and actions can lead to deep psychological trauma. For those facing open cruelty, it's vital to seek support and protect themselves from these negative impacts. Always remember that no one has the right to hurt you, and you deserve respect in any relationship. Sign 7 warnings from friends and family. Friends and family play a crucial role in helping us recognize warning signs of bad people in our lives. When they warn you about someone, it's usually out of concern and care for your well-being. These warnings are often based on experiences or objective observations that you may not notice when you're emotionally involved with the person. Listening to and considering these warnings can help you avoid harmful or emotionally damaging situations. For example, when you start a new romantic relationship, friends or family might express concern that your partner shows controlling or untrustworthy behavior. You might be swept up in the initial charm of the relationship and overlook these red flags, but from an outsider's perspective, your loved ones might notice actions like your partner trying to control your time, checking your phone, or making decisions for you. If these signs go unnoticed, they can lead to a toxic relationship in the long term. Another example is starting a new job, where colleagues quickly warn you about a manager who has a reputation for bullying employees. You might think they're just gossiping or exaggerating, but if multiple people share the same experience, it's a sign you should be cautious. These warnings don't just protect you from emotional harm, but also prepare you for potential challenges. In friendships, warnings can come from family members who notice that a friend is taking advantage of you or displaying selfish tendencies. For instance, this friend might only show up when they need help, but they're never there when you're in trouble. Loved ones might observe the imbalance in the relationship and advise you to be careful. Recognizing and accepting these warnings is not always easy, especially when you're emotionally attached to the person being warned about. However, listening to outsiders' perspectives is often the best way to view the situation objectively. Never underestimate warnings from those close to you, as they have your best interests at heart and no ulterior motives other than concern. A story that illustrates this is when several close friends or family members unanimously agree that someone in your life is problematic or dangerous. This is a clear indication that you should stop and reassess the situation. Don't let emotional attachment or blind loyalty blind you to obvious warning signs. Being vigilant can protect you from harmful people and ensure you maintain healthy, positive relationships in your life. Sign 8. Animal abuse. Animal abuse is one of the clearest signs of a person with a bad and toxic character. People who display cruelty toward animals often lack empathy and compassion, which can be seen not only in their treatment of animals, but also in their behavior toward humans. When someone feels nothing while harming weak and defenseless creatures like animals, it signals that they have the potential to be just as cruel to people. For example, you might have a neighbor who frequently yells at and hits their dog over small issues, like the dog barking too much or making a mess. This behavior not only reflects cruelty, but also shows a lack of emotional control. When someone loses control and chooses to vent their anger on an animal, it's a clear sign that they might behave similarly toward humans in stressful or frustrating situations. Another story could involve a friend who owns pets but neglects them. For example, they leave their pets without food, don't clean their living areas, or fail to take them to the vet when necessary. This neglect is not just a sign of irresponsibility, but also a reflection of their indifference to the suffering of other living beings. People who mistreat animals often don't care about others' feelings and are quick to use violence or cruelty to control situations. Research has shown that individuals who are violent toward animals are more likely to exhibit violent behaviors toward humans as well. This is a crucial factor to be aware of in any relationship. If you notice someone being cruel to animals, it's a strong indicator of their toxic personality. This not only endangers the animal's well-being, but also poses a risk to the people around them. If you witness someone abusing animals, don't hesitate to speak up or report the behavior to the appropriate authorities. Protecting animals from violence and cruelty is not only about safeguarding these voiceless creatures, but also about preventing similar acts of violence from happening to humans. In conclusion, animal abuse is one of the most concerning indicators of a person's character. It's a clear warning not only of how they treat animals, but also of how they might behave in other personal relationships. Recognizing and addressing this issue early on can protect both the animals and the people involved.